Hello and welcome, everybody. So my name's Sarah Belcher. I am a functional medicine practitioner and a physical therapist. I work out of my home and out of Newport Beach, California. I wanted to come on today and talk to you about detoxification. So I run some successful detoxification groups where community get together and peers support each other for a metabolic cleanse and metabolic detoxification. Has some great results with people really starting to kickstart their health programs and losing weight, losing joint pain, feeling better with their headaches, bloating, diarrhea, you name it. And I want to talk to you today about the toxicity levels that we have in our body and how we can try and improve that through this detoxification program. I also want to tell you that if you are going to do something like this, you need to consult with your physician first and let them know that you're making a change to diet, detoxification, whatever, and that the supplementation and the recommendations I'm going to make in this video are not intended to cure anything or treat a disease. So without further ado, let's talk a bit more and we'll address some of the issues that you may have had with the questions that I've been asked to try and explain it as well as I can. So I'm going to share my screen here and we're going to go through. Okay, so why detox? We have a lot of people saying, we detoxify all the time in our cells, the people who know a little bit more. Some people say, why do I need to detoxify? I don't feel toxic. I have a good diet and, I feel pretty healthy. So even for those people, myself included, regular detoxification can improve you because unfortunately we do have toxins that are stored in our body just because of how we live in today's day and age. So let me give you a little bit of an idea about that. So there's more than 80,000 chemicals that are here in the US, with approximately 2,000 added annually. And, a lot of these aren't necessarily regulated specifically, and we don't know what they're in, unless we look at labels, which I'll teach you about a bit later on. So with all those chemicals, we also know that some of those get into our water, and they also have found that there are more than 700 synthetic organic compounds identified in our water. And this obviously changes depending on where you live, but there will be off running from fields and agriculture, pesticides, hormonal tablets, antibiotics, things like that, as well as potentially some heavy metals. So we want to be thinking about filtering our water. And I normally will recommend reverse osmosis to my patients. So, we all are drinking water. And if we're not filtering it completely, it's getting into our body. We all have homes and we have air inside our homes, which has been found to be definitely twice as polluted as the outdoor. So an air filter will go a long way, but we have things that we cannot control, like off-gassing of chemicals into the air from things like carpet and furniture, curtains, things like that. And then, of course, the chemicals that we use to clean our homes. So with that said as well, they also found that, you're not immune even if you're an infant. And when you're born, in fact, you have more than 200 toxins in your body. And the Environmental Working Group did look at this. So, from any age, we have toxins. And as we get older, this load gets bigger. So again, the CDC and their fourth national report on human exposure to environmental chemicals, they found that 212 chemicals were found in all of the blood and urine of most Americans. So it's there, whether you think it's not, it's definitely there. So what can we really kind of do about it, and how do they get in? So example is obviously in the food that we eat, with the types of foods that we eat, with pesticides, etc., any additives, things like that. We mentioned water, we mentioned air, and of course the products we use. So if you're a woman, you are going to use several products on your body, and that will be absorbed through your skin, because your skin is like a large mouth. Okay, guys too, we're getting a little bit more metrosexual, so we're adding more lotions and potions to our daily routines. That's something that we need to consider. So in our food, what they have found with the environmental toxins and the sources of them, definitely on the top of the list is pesticides and herbicides and fungicides. Genetically modified organisms will produce problems for you. Preservatives, E numbers, colors, for example, hormone injected animals that are injected to try and produce more milk, better meat, etc. And then BPA, which is in many things and not as much as it used to be, but definitely in can linings. And I have seen them doing BPA-free can linings now. But if you eat tinned food, it's going to be in there. And then processed meats, of course, anything processed is going to have preservatives in it and have things like nitrites and nitrates in them. And then carcinogens formed from cooking meat, which we can go into deeper. So if you're going to char your meats, you're more likely to have carcinogens in them. So I mentioned a bit before, the drinking water, things that would be in there: fluoride, chlorine, arsenic, lead, unfortunately, of course, pesticides, herbicides, and fungicides, and then pharmaceuticals that are disposed in the toilet, because people do that. They don't do it and take it back to the pharmacy. They tend to just get rid of it that way, thinking it's safe. Industrial compounds from cleaning, and then disinfection byproducts, because of course we want to disinfect our toilets. This is interesting with the indoor and outdoor pollutants. So often something that we don't think of unless we see, dust in our house, or we think we need to clean that, or the air smells a bit stale. If you smoke, which you shouldn't, that's going to be a pollutant. Of course, household products like air freshener, detergent, disinfectant, cleaners, etc., etc. With the smells in the home, we try and kind of spray over them to make it smell better, and that really is not the best for us, because we're going to inhale that and then absorb it into our bodies. Natural sources, of course, like dust mites and mold, which you should check if you have an older house. Pet dander, of course, and pollen, and particularly this time of year, everyone's suffering with allergies. And then the building materials that we use to build our home, the paint, the off-gassing, like I said before, from the carpet, asbestos, lead, formaldehyde, this all gets into our bodies, guys. So we've got to be thinking about that. And then, of course, industrial and car exhaust. If you're near a road or an airport, you're going to have more of that. Personal care products, something definitely I talk to my women about, especially for hormone balancing, you ladies. Most people come with, problems with weight gain or weight retention. They can't get rid of things. And these personal care products have a significant effect, and they are called endocrine disruptors. So they mimic hormones in our bodies, for men too. And they can be in makeup, in deodorant, in nail polishes, in our sunscreen. And these things have a big effect, and we want to be trying to remove some of those. And anybody who works with me will find out that I would be give them a decent direction on how to do that. Of course, household products such as cleaners, non-stick pans are significant as well. Plastic wraps that we use, the plasticizers that we store our food in, we want to be kind of getting rid of those, really, because they do absorb into the food and into the water, particularly with bottles, and they hang around our body. So how does the body deal with toxins? Well, it's pretty smart, okay? It can deal with most things until it kind of gets to a point of overload. So what it will do is it will remove some of those toxins, or it will hide them in body fat, because we don't want toxins around in our blood, so they have to be stored somewhere. So we'll store them in fat, and fat is obviously everywhere, subcutaneous, and it's also around our organs, but also our brain is made majority of fat. So things with problems with memory decline and brain fog, that can be part of a toxic load symptom, which we're going to dive into a bit deeper. And then, of course, the long-term ingestion and accumulation of these toxins over time, we might want to label them as a disease. And you may hear things like these chronic signs of toxic overload, which would be chronic fatigue, constipation, bloating, inability to lose weight is a huge one for most people. They're exercising hard and they're not seeing any change. Well, maybe you're toxic. Bloating and puffiness, recurring headaches, again, huge one I see. Mood swings, absolutely significant, and irritability. And then this joint stiffness and pain, as we get older, of course, we're going to get more stiff and more joint pain. But is that related to toxic overload? Absolutely. Physical therapy, we can help that with hands-on treatment and exercise. But often when I do detoxification with these people, their pain goes down significantly, and they can't believe it. So it's definitely related to food and what we eat and our toxic levels. You might have frequent colds, which means your immunity is not great, which is definitely related to toxins too. And that's quite current at the moment. So what's the long-term effects? How far down the line do we go before we start to think, is this possibly because of toxic overload? Or any other system that might be related to my issues, such as reproduction. We see women with fertility issues more so even younger these days. Is it because we have all these chemicals and body lotions and potions that they're putting on with the chronic stress that's on top of that? Which can unfortunately lead to birth defects too. With kids, delayed learning and motor skills, possibly. And then, brain function is a big one I see linked, which would be early onset of dementia, Alzheimer's, memory loss, cognitive decline. It starts with brain fog, so we want to get rid of that. And then mood changes, ADHD, and the big huge one will be endocrine and hormones. So type 2 diabetes, metabolic syndrome, hormone imbalances, all significantly related to that. And then definitely immune function. Autoimmune conditions improve with detoxification very well. And suppressed immune function can lead from toxic overload. So we'll go a little bit deeper into some of the areas. So like we said before, toxins are stored in fat cells, and the body guards toxins and body fat as a protective mechanism because we don't want those compounds circulating around the blood. Makes sense, right? Put them away and kind of like leave them alone. And this is where we see a plateau in weight loss. And that might indicate toxicity. And I've definitely seen when people have done a detoxification program of just 2 weeks, they can lose significant amounts of fat. Last time I did one, I think I lost 6 pounds of actual fat and no muscle loss. We've seen, people losing anywhere between 3 and 16 pounds in this 2 weeks, which is a safe way to do it. So if you're having problems with weight loss resistance, then this might be the answer for you. So organs of detoxification, most of us just think of the liver, but in fact, we have lots of systems that detoxify. So we have lymph, which will get rid of the toxins out from the blood and waste. We have our blood. We have skin, which is constantly absorbing and expiring sweat too. Kidneys, of course, people think about that when we're looking at hydration and fluids. Colon is significantly important, and especially with transition time of, the stool, is it going faster or is it going slow? And if it's going slow, you're going to reabsorb those toxins because the majority of them have been placed into the colon for excretion. Of course, lungs, we have a massive lung surface area for this gaseous exchange. And if we're breathing bad air, we're going to absorb. And then, of course, the liver, huge detoxification organ. So let's talk a bit more about the liver. It is the primary detox organ, and it works a bit like an oil filter works in a car. So the liver will have the responsibility of detoxifying usually chemicals and drugs. So that'll happen if you're on any medication. And there's going to be some metabolites from that. It filters the blood, and then it also converts the sugar that you eat into usable energy. And then it processes the body's stored sugar. So that's glycogen, and that's what you would use for energy, for exercise, for example. It creates bile to aid the digestion of fats, which comes from the gallbladder, and it eliminates your cholesterol. So it has lots of roles. And then probably really important as well, again for women, is the balancing and eliminating excess hormones. So again, we see with women something called estrogen dominance, where the estrogen is not being broken down and excreted well from the body. So that can lead to things like PMS, weight gain around your hips, difficulty losing weight, irritability before your period, etc., etc. So again, detoxification can work for hormone balancing really, really well. So detoxification process. So this is the process where the body converts the toxic substance, so all the things that we were talking about before, into non-toxic and water-soluble compounds that can be readily excreted through urine and feces. So it's very clever in getting those toxins into an easy, usable form that we can get rid of. And most toxins are fat soluble. We said that they sit in fat. So we'll see those in high fat tissues and organs like, your brain, for example. And then what we must do is convert these fat soluble toxins into water soluble forms before they can be excreted. So this is done in a two-step process in the liver. And this is called phase 1 and phase 2 detoxification. So for those of you who want a bit more detail, here it is. So there's the toxin, which is fat soluble. And in phase 1, all of these contaminants like insecticides, pesticides, etc., they will get converted into a more reactive substance, which then is converted into phase 2 and made water soluble and then eliminated from the body via the gallbladder into bile and into stool, and via the kidneys into urine. So think of it a bit like a washing machine too, where you will have your clothes that are dirty, the water will go in and the washing machine cycle will start, and you'll have some dirty water in there. And then eventually the clean water will get, the dirty water and clean water will get drained, and then that's how you end up with clean clothes. So think of it a bit like a two-step process: water in, moving around in the cycle of washing, and then, the excretion. So when detoxification becomes imbalanced, this is where we have this toxic overload, and a congested or sluggish liver indicated by low bile flow can be a problem. So toxins are released into the bile, which is secreted into your gastrointestinal tract, and then it's eliminated from the body via feces. However, if your liver and your gallbladder is not doing well, then you have low bile flow, then the excretion is not going to be as great. So you can get this buildup. And, one of the things we see with a lot of people is gallbladder issues, gallbladder removal, which is, a problem for people. Don't want to get to that point. So we want to prevent, and functional medicine is all about prevention. So phase 1 detoxification might be greater than phase 2 detoxification. So phase 1 is where these toxic substances are made more reactive, and we don't want them to hang around. We want to get rid of them in phase 2. So we want the phase 1 and phase 2 detoxification to be as good and fast as each other. And then if our enzyme function is less in phase 1 and phase 2, we need enzymes for all of these reactions, then we're going to have problems too. This could also be genetic. And if we can do genetic testing to see if you have any issues with these enzymes as well, which could be, one of the root causes of problems. And genetics are really important. That's another lecture, that's another webinar, but genetics can tell us a lot of information about how to, direct our health for the rest of our lives. So what can you do? So obviously I'm telling you about this process of detoxification. And first of all, we want to try and reduce the toxins going into your body. And that is certain types of foods and your environment. So there's 2 different types of detox programs that Designs for Health actually offers. And I love Designs for Health, and very much researched group for nutraceuticals, and they produce excellent products. So let me talk to you a bit about what they actually are. So the two different types are the veggie cleanse and the paleo cleanse. And they're both very, very effective for this detoxification. And they're easy as well. Most people said to me, I'm so happy that they have these individual packets every day that I can put in water, which is for the shake, and the packets individual for the supplementation, because they can just grab it and go. So the veggie cleanse detoxification, if you're a veggie, if you're a vegetarian, then this one will be the one for you. Like I said, it includes the single serving drink mix packets, which you can take and use in a single serving, no scooping or anything like that. And this is what we call a functional food powder. So this is where the major difference to something like a juice fasting cleanse, for etc. This is all targeted nutrition for all those processes that we just talked about for your liver, gallbladder, etc. And with the veggie cleanse, we have two of the capsule packets, the amino detox and the hydrolyzome capsules. So what are they? So each single serving has 17 grams of protein, and this is from peas. It's organic, non-GMO, of course, and they are low allergenic. Again, it's a pea protein source because this is for vegetarians, okay? There are multivitamins and minerals in there, and then enzyme support. So if you're on a multivitamin, you don't need to take it during this time, and we'll advise you probably to stop taking those supplements. But if you have any questions about the ones that you're on, whether you should continue to take or not, let me know. So these nutrients, again, they're really specific. So they're promoting bile flow, improving your gallbladder. They are antioxidants, and they help to protect your tissue. And then it has glucomannan and fiber to improve satiety. So a lot of patients told me, I didn't really feel that hungry while I was doing this. And that's great for them, because sometimes willpower is a problem too. And if you're hungry as well, it just creates a really, really difficult process. Whereas that doesn't happen much on this program, which is why it's easy. Alkalizing to veggie and fruit blend, it's all in there, and that helps your metabolism. Like I said, there's the two capsules, and here's what's in them. So again, they're supporting this phase 2 liver detoxification and ensuring that these toxins are safely eliminated. So once we pull them out, we want to make sure that they're eliminated safely and they don't hang around. Helps reduce detox symptoms, and we're going to talk about what they are a bit later. Again, the enzymes in the veggie cleanse, that's going to help to break down the protein coming from the pea. And then the next one, paleo cleanse. So this is a bone broth protein powder. Again, same packets. It comes from Swedish cows, which are happy. It's easier to absorb and assimilate, and has really, really good amino acid profile. Again, it's all from non-GMO, no antibiotics, not raised with hormones, etc. Same thing, nutrients of phase 1 and phase 2 detoxification. And the fiber too, to make you feel full and happy. Get the packets as well, the amino detox and the detox antiox. And again, here's the information, but guys, if you're going to be in my Facebook group, all of the information for the individual supplementation is going to be in there. So please join. Here we go. And then you get, your shaker, absolutely. So what's the actual program guidelines? Well, you do get to eat on this, okay? A lot of people think, it's just shakes and pills. No, absolutely not. What it is you'll get a guidebook which tells you what types of foods you can eat. And the whole idea of this detoxification is to try and remove the foods that are the most toxic and allergenic during this 2-week period, while adding in the nutrients to help pull out those toxins and support all of your organs of detoxification. So the schedule is basically a shake in the morning, And then a normal lunch, which is based on the food, the allowable food groups, which is paleo style or veggie. And again, you're going to get a whole booklet outlining exactly what you can eat and what you can't eat, and recipes and food guides. It'll all be there for you. And then snacks as you need to prevent hunger, which will be, of course, it will in the allowable food groups, and that's going to be in the guidebook. So you're going to be following a low allergen elimination style diet. You're going to remove gluten and dairy and sugar and alcohol and caffeine. And again, in the Facebook group, I'm going to explain and give you guys some short videos on some of these things. If you're not in the Facebook group, it will be sent to you via email, I'm hoping. And if not, you're going to have me to talk to over these 2 weeks. So I will be here to keep you accountable and answer any of your questions. And that's the difference. You're going to be monitored by somebody instead of just kind of doing this thing on your own. So we're going to reduce the amount of allergens entering the body. That's going to help diminish yeast overgrowth, which is something we see commonly in like acid reflux, for example. Minimize inflammatory and toxic reactions, and then maximize the effectiveness of the program. So you want to be taking these things away. You can't just do it without doing that. And the problem is how we farm and how our food is produced, unfortunately. There's a lot of gluten problems in society these days. And unfortunately, the GMO wheat that has been crossbred with shorter grass has led to a higher level of gluten in this wheat. And it's really problematic. We see this non-celiac reaction to gluten in many, many people. Once they get rid of it, it can really fix their autoimmune problems, their joint problems, thyroid problems, everything. And it's in everything, unfortunately. So I can guide you through, non-gluten type foods. And we have a lot better choice these days, let's be fair. Soy and corn are also common, and GMO often. And then the dairy sensitivities are rising, and some people are lactose intolerant, or they just have a difficulty actually digesting this lactose. And again, we can find that in genetics. So what should you eat? People are like, well, what else can I eat? Well, as long as it's organic and grass-fed meat and poultry, if you're doing paleo, organic vegetables and fruits. We're going to look at the EWG's Dirty Dozen to tell you what you can and you can't do. And then high fiber fruits and vegetables. Whole grains, legumes, and nuts and seeds. If you're on paleo, we're not going to do beans, but again, you're going to have a guide for that. And then what kind of foods should you avoid? Obviously, foods high in pesticides and heavy metals, we want to be going for organic. We want foods to avoid things like artificial colors and flavors, anything processed, anything sugar. Sugar in all forms are going to go during this. And your sugar cravings are going to go down too. A lot of people are surprised by that. They could walk past the donut aisle and not even want one. So similar thing goes for artificial sweeteners. They're quite toxic. Aspartame, for example, is a huge one. Alcohol, of course, and caffeine, soy protein, fried foods, and peanuts. Peanuts are very allergenic, even if you're okay eating them. So definitely encourage you to look at the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. This is the environmental working group that looked at different types of vegetables that have more of a toxic load in them, more pesticides absorbed into them. And basically, you really, really should be trying to buy organic for these Dirty Dozen. So definitely, things that have thin skins like apples, celery, cherry tomatoes, cucumbers, grapes, they should be really organic. Ones you can get away with, but I still would recommend organic, are things like asparagus, avocados, cabbage, cantaloupe. Those things that have the thicker skins basically don't tend to be quite as toxic for us. But check that out, ewg.org. Always buy organic, always, always, always. As much as you think it might not make a difference, it makes a huge difference. And then there's the Clean 15. If you cannot, then you want to be using a veggie wash to try and get the pesticides off. Wash them really well. You can use a vinegar solution as well to kind of get them off. So if you really can't do it, you can't source it, that's okay. We want to be eating vegetables and fruits versus processed foods, of course. If you can't find organic, that's okay, but just try and wash them appropriately. So during this detox, people are like, oh, is it going to be hard? They thought it's going to be hard. And most of them found out that actually it wasn't. And they started to feel great on it within a few days. Of course, it's going to be, your body's going to be working hard during this time. So I definitely recommend people get a lot of rest. Usually first few days, you can be a bit tired because you are detoxing, and people know that it can give you symptoms. Drink lots of water. Absolutely, you're going to be thirsty. That's just how the process works. And I always recommend hydration is the number one supplement, if you like, that I see that's deficient in everybody. Most people are dehydrated. If you're thirsty, you're already dehydrated. So we want you drinking lots and lots of water, and at least half of your optimal body weight in ounces. So if you're a man and you weigh 180 pounds, you should drink at least 90 ounces of water a day. And if you're an athlete, you want to be upping that because you're going to lose it through sweat. And, we've got to keep your organs hydrated and working well. So it's really, really important. Sweat. Definitely. If you can during this time, definitely sweat. If you can't exercise and you're too tired to get a good sweat on, then a sauna is really, really good. I would recommend an infrared sauna above everything else because of how it actually works to increase your core temperature. Helps with viral load as well, and is just incredibly good for you for detoxification. Where I have worked at the clinic at Orf Health and Wellness, we would offer infrared packet saunas for the detox participants, which was really, really good and effective. Dry skin brushing is working for your lymph, and then trying to reduce the stress. Stress itself is a toxin, and there's byproducts that are produced in our body from our hormones that tend to hang around. So stress reduction is huge. And then, of course, choosing better products. We want to be trying to avoid the phthalates and the BPAs and all of the things that are in our body lotions and potions. And again, EWG has a good reference for that, but I will definitely guide you if you need to. So going on to short-term side effects, this is what most people are worried about. Oh, I'm going to feel terrible. Oh, I'm not going to be able to stick to it. Oh, it's going to be hard for me. Now, yes, of course, there are going to be some things that some people will experience, but not all, okay? If you are severely toxic, you might experience some of these symptoms. And if that's the case, you have me to help you. We may want to go a bit slower than the normal, but the majority of people do really well on this, but they usually experience some of the stuff here. So some headaches, maybe some weakness and dizziness. You might just feel tired. You might get a rash, which should go quite quickly. You might ache. You might have constipation or diarrhea. It can be either or. I've heard both. And then you might wake up in the night. The majority of people have said that they start to feel better after the first 3 or 4 days on it. Okay. So again, everyone's individual, but you will be in a group with peers and some people who have actually done it before that will be able to help guide you through that too, as well as me. And if there's anything really specifically bad, we can talk and I can get you through it. But the majority of people don't have a major issue. So the benefits, again, I've heard all kinds of stuff, and myself personally have probably had all of these things. Energy and vitality, healthier skin and hair. People have said, you know what, I'm never going to go back to eating that way again because I realized it was just so bad for me and it made me feel so bad. So their habits improve. They lose their bloating. People get bloating a lot after meals, and that's because your body doesn't like it. And they lose some weight too. Headaches definitely reduced, body aches, joint pain reduced, allergies reduced. and digestion. I've heard people where it's sorted out their chronic diarrhea, or it's improved their constipation or their IBS. Better sleep, clearer thinking, and improved mood. I've had clients who said that they were on fire at work because they were just so mentally ready for the day, which they previously weren't. And that goes hand in hand with memory too, and focus. So we're going to get rid of that brain fog. So congratulations on taking this detoxification journey. This is your first step to the path to wellness. And I use detoxification in many of my programs with my patients. I usually see people for around 3 months. I see them weekly. I keep them accountable. We set goals, and we work towards them together. So detoxification is usually part of my health programs. But I'm offering this really as an independent detoxification as a group, because I found people need something to get them on track that is less money than a bigger program, which of course I want to do for people. And the results have been incredibly good. So I'm here for you for any questions. And what I will be doing is you're going to get more information either in email or Facebook group about the more detailed parts of the schedule, of whether you're going to do the paleo cleanse or the veggie cleanse. And I'm here to support you and keep you accountable. So I will leave it there and hope to hear from you soon.